So today I want to talk about drug and alcohol abuse or addiction, and more specifically, I want to talk about the reasons why people give that they are addicted to drugs and alcohol. And then I want to offer a little bit of ways that we could possibly alleviate or eliminate the problem. Now, a while back, I did work at a drug and alcohol rehab center, and I have to say it was a very interesting experience because I've never been in a place where there's so much misinformation, lies, and infantilization of their clientele. At the time, they were charging clients $5,000 a month to be at this rehab center. And the therapy that they were offering at that time were basically 12-step programs. In 12-step programs, there was no science behind it, no evidence-based information on it, and it's free in every major and minor city, probably in the United States, probably the world actually. So what they were basically doing is that they were giving clientele a 12-step program, which is basically free information. It was done by people that are not mental health clinicians and charging $5,000 a month. So I was doing individual counseling at that time, and that was going really well. So I was asked to start doing groups, and I refused because I didn't want to do 12-step program type of therapy. Why? Because going to school and going through all the supervision and all the hours that you need to be a mental health clinician, I didn't want to start using programs that lay people use. It didn't make sense to me. So eventually I was able to do the groups because they agreed with me that I should just run the program the way I want to do it. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I was teaching in the program. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is awareness, because I personally don't believe in calling them drug rehabs, because drugs are inanimate objects. They don't have emotions and feelings, so I don't know why we have to call them drug rehabs. They should be called human rehabs. Let's start with that. And I don't believe that there's anything such as drug abuse, because again, you can't abuse a drug. It's not human, it does not have feelings. It's too superficial, and it takes people out of the hard work that they need to do. For example, it's not drug abuse, it's self-abuse. It's abusing the self, it's abusing all the people that love them, it's abusing the world probably because they have a lot to offer the world and they're not doing it. So there is a lot of abuse, but it's certainly not abuse to the drug, it's abuse to human beings. The other problem that I've noticed is whenever we talk about drugs being the problem, the clientele, they always fight it. And the reason for that is because drugs are not their problem as they see it. Drugs are the solution to all of their problems. And that's why you can't pull the drug from them without giving them some type of tools to live, because they're using the drug to mask all of these other feelings. So yes, the drug use is ill-advised, probably a little emotionally weak, but it is their best solution that they can think of at the time. So one of the first questions I ask the group, I'll say, if I snap my fingers and I make all the drugs and alcohol in the world disappear, will I solve your problems? And after thinking about it for a while, everybody ends up saying the same thing. No, I'm actually creating more problems. So then we could get down to the business of talking about the actual root causes of addiction, not the symptoms that everybody wants to talk about. So on this side here, I have a list of reasons that people give for being addicted. And as you'll notice, I'll read them off in a second because you might not be able to read them. All of these are actual symptoms. They're not root causes. So if you handle just this, you're handling nothing. So let's go down this list. They say it's legal and available. They take drugs because of peer pressure. They want to fit in. They have depression, anxiety, or stress. They're impulsive. They have addictive personalities. From boredom, grief, painful memories, family history, trauma and abuse in their life. They're still chasing the high. They have a genetic problem. And it also enhances their personality, such as overcoming shyness. So these are all symptoms, but people want to work on that. That's not what we want to work on. If we move to this section here, I have it broken down to 3 parts. If we can work on someone's meaning and purpose in their life, and also we can increase their self-esteem, and we can help them with their emotophobia problem, which, what is emotophobia? Emotophobia would be the fear of emotions that they can't feel, they don't want to feel their own emotions, so they try to neutralize them or to numb them, or they have a fear of other people's emotions. Either way, it causes these, and I'm going to prove that. So right here, reason for drug and alcohol abuse. It's legal and available. Well, we have a meaning and purpose problem here, don't we? Because just because a drug, let's say like nicotine or alcohol, is legal and available, doesn't mean you have to run out and go get it and use it every day. It makes no sense. Peer pressure and fitting in. Again, we are human beings, we are wired for connection, and we do want to fit in. But at what cost? If you have meaning and purpose in your life, I'm sure you don't need to fit in by trying to score some heroin. That doesn't make any sense. Depression, anxiety, stress. Again, those are not bad emotions. There are difficult emotions to deal with, but emotions tell us something. And it tells us something to do with our life. What it doesn't tell us to do is go out and do drugs to numb them. So these feelings are very normal. They're very human. Again, emotophobia. You should not be afraid of emotions. Feelings and emotions have never killed anybody. It's the running away, the neutralizing, and trying to numb emotions that kill thousands, if not millions of people every year. Impulsivity. Another lie that you get at drug and alcohol recovery service clinics. A lot of people that do drugs, and they've told me over and over, part of the high that they get is their false meaning and purpose of finding the person who's got the drugs, figuring out the money, making the drug deal, doing what you have to do before you get the drugs, meeting the people who are also on the same wavelength, other addicts. So this is not impulsivity. These are many, many choices done over and over and over again over a period of time. That's the exact opposite of impulsivity. Let's talk about addictive personality. I have an addictive personality, which draws me to being addicted to alcohol. That makes no sense. Again, that's a meaning and purpose problem. Why are you not addicted to maybe going to the hospital and holding the hands of people who are getting dialysis or chemotherapy? Why are you not going to the local animal shelter and being addicted to walking dogs that need some type of social connection? Why are you not addicted to taking out some money and maybe feeding the homeless? Why? Because those are productive things to do. You're into self-destruction, which is a lack of self-esteem. So that's something that we have to handle. Boredom. Boredom means that when you're alone, you don't like the company that you keep. You don't like being with yourself. That's a self-esteem problem. Boredom is an emotion. It's perfectly fine. It's telling you that you are not getting down to the business of improving yourself, of finding out what you were supposed to do on this earth. So instead, you sit in a room and you complain. You come here to this earth to do something for the universe. The universe is not here for you. So again, it reeks of entitlement. So boredom, again, if you have meaning and purpose, boredom goes away. Grief. Grief is a normal and expected human emotion. You should be happy to have grief. Grief is when you lose something that is extremely valuable or somebody or something that you love. Be happy that you had something to love. Grief does not come about by losing something you don't care about. So grief in itself is something beautiful. You should sit in those emotions and feelings. It's actually a very beautiful feeling. So again, if you become an alcoholic or a drug addict because you're afraid to feel grief, you have an emotophobia problem. And you also have a meaning and purpose problem. Because if you have grief over somebody you lost, how or why would you honor somebody by becoming an addict? There are many better ways to honor those who have loved us and are gone now. Painful memories, I'll put that in the same category as emotophobia. You're a human being, you should be able to handle emotions and feelings. There's nothing more human than that. Trauma and abuse. Yes, trauma and abuse can and will lower your self-esteem. But part of that is because you abandon yourself. When you really get down and you really look at what those emotions are, why would it be that if somebody does something horrible and unloving to you, why does that make you the bad person and not them? So these are issues that would be needed to be looked into, which you would never get in this 12-step program because they're not mental health clinicians. So again, this would be a self-esteem problem. The trauma and abuse obviously would be an emotophobia problem. And I think I skipped family history. Family history is not really a part of drug and alcohol addiction as they say it is. It's a coping mechanism that you see from your parents or your caregivers. And you think it's an okay thing to do to have a problem, and then you drink. So it becomes a normal routine. And so that doesn't make any sense. What does make sense is that you do not have meaning and purpose in your life again. Chasing the high. Okay, I've heard that people continuously chase the high because on drugs made them feel really good at some point. Sure, but if you have meaning and purpose in your life, there's much more important things in this world than doing drugs to feel good. I mean, how about having a great social connection with a lot of people? You know, that's one. How about trying to reach your full potential as a human being? Also, chasing a high, feeling good because of a drug, is not actually a productive forward action. So in that sense, it will never raise your self-esteem. It will only lower it. So chasing the high also makes no sense. Genetics. What we're talking about here really is epigenetics, which is genetics over your regular DNA, meaning that you might have a susceptibility because of, let's say, your family, and you might have a susceptibility to being an addict, let's say, addicted to alcohol. That could be true. But those epigenetic genes would not be expressed unless you purposefully went out of your way to drink instead of feel your emotions. So again, it's self-inflicted. Enhancing your personality, such as overcoming shyness. Again, it's emotophobia. You're trying to mask your feelings. So in that sense, being a drug and alcohol abuser is not really correlated to enhancing your personality. What it is that you don't have enough self-esteem. You don't like who you are as a person, so you're trying to mask it. Also, you're afraid of emotions, and again, meaning and purpose. If you had meaning and purpose and you liked who you are and where you were going in your life, you wouldn't need drugs or alcohol to become something different because you will already be moving in the direction that you would like to go. And before we started today, Lola came up with a question for me. She's awake now. So her question was, Lola wants to know that if she takes medication every day so she can still see, does that mean she is addicted? Well, no, that's a good question because a lot of people these days, they start on oxycodone because of pain. Now, if you're 22 years old and you somehow go to a doctor and make them in some way believe that you need drugs because of some minor ailment, listen, that's on you, because I don't know too many young people that are in that much pain that they need a massive amount of oxycodone for the rest of their life. It's possible though. Like if you have a severe back injury or something to that effect, I understand that. But if we look at the heroin epidemic these days, you can't tell me that there's that many people that are in pain. It just wouldn't happen like that. The epidemic is not just the heroin then. It would have to be the epidemic is people can't handle their pain, which makes no sense. So in Lola's sense, yeah, in order for her to see, because she's older now, she has to take eye drops. So that, of course, would make sense because people do have medical reasons to continuously take drugs to keep their life going. And I think I'll end it at that today. I've got a lot more to say, but I don't want this video to be too long. So let me just wrap up this real quick. All these here are symptoms of drug and alcohol abuse and of why they do it. The actual root causes of people really get in, they really want to have a conversation. It's about their self-abuse, and they're using drugs to minimize all of these actual problems over here, which are mainly caused by these three main problems. And again, meaning and purpose, fear of emotions, and lack of self-esteem. So your question probably is, how do I gain these things? How do I help? Well, that'll be for another video at another time. Thanks for listening.
Do you want to, your email or anything, or your video channel, if they want to subscribe?
Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still on, if they want to subscribe.
Oh, yeah, it's Joe, what is it? I don't even know. Rise Above Project
on YouTube. So check out Joe's videos and please subscribe.
Oh, let me give you my phone number too. 702-556-9958. Thank you.